every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is a story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello, thank you for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News tonight. I am Frank Komalape. Our top stories now. Thank you for joining us now. Nigeria and Cameroon have reaffirmed commitments to clear the remnants of the Boko Haram insurgents. President Muhammadu Buhari and Paul Biya of Cameroon say the Niger Republic has also indicated readiness to join force in the fight against the insurgents. Our State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole reports that the signing of bilateral, regional and international agreements was the climax of the two-day working visit. His report.
The Cameroonian president continued his two-day working visit to Nigeria with the signing of different agreements aimed at fostering the existing bilateral relations between the two countries. According to the foreign ministers of the two countries, agreements were signed on a wide range of issues. They say the two countries are ready to harness their resources for the benefit of their nationals.
The two presidents welcomed the increased interest by investors of both countries in each other's economies as a measure that will strengthen and expand the already existing mutually beneficial economic cooperation between the two countries.
Reacting to questions from journalists, President Buhari and his Cameroonian counterparts affirmed the commitment to clear the remnants of the Boko Haram insurgents.
We are very, very alert to our responsibilities, and we will maintain a focus, and we need the cooperation of every serious citizen in both countries, in the region and in the continent.
President Buhari also sought the cooperation of neighboring African countries in the quest of diversifying the Nigerian economy.
Firstly, to secure food security, and secondly, to make sure that we diversify the economy, because we have the capacity, and we will seize this opportunity with both hands.
Among the agreements signed is the review of the 1963 Protocol for Free Movement of Human and Goods between the two countries. Abiola Oluwole, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And now the federal government says it's collaborating with the National Assembly to correct the grey areas of the 2016 appropriation bill. The Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, disclosed this after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. The State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole has details.
The minister, in his address to the team led by its first vice chairman, Shola David Bora, disclosed that the federal government will no longer just plan, adding that the nation has, in his opinion, overplanned. The next step, according to him, is what it describes as a project implementation and program plan.
The plan really is in setting timetables, dates, costs, quantities, and say this will take us here in 15 weeks. And I think that's the real heart of the matter, and that's where we are at in this ministry.
Earlier in her address, leader of delegation and first vice chairman of the group disclosed that all the NESG wants is a partnership with government to ensure the delivery of service to all Nigerians, especially the power, works and housing sector, which she describes as strategic.
Our view essentially is that there's so much to do and such limited resources that it is important that we focus on some key road networks.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, Lao Yajayola, while addressing the issues affecting both the road and housing sector, calls for a new approach, especially in the transmission subsector of the power sector.
As we plan for the next summit 22, our focal point is to look at Made in Nigeria. Whatever it is we can do with the ministry to ensure that we promote Made in Nigeria, we will still want to work with it before the summit. And I just think they should have this.
The two sides, however, agreed that they will meet more regularly to ensure the creation of an effective synergy between the government and private sector for the development of the nation's infrastructure. Kazim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And now the federal government is in the process of ramping up infrastructure development with an implementation and program approach to the power works and housing sector. The Minister of Power Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, while speaking to a delegation of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, disclosed that the nation has too many plans, and what is important now is to take action and work together with groups like the Nigerian Economic Summit Group to deliver services to all Nigerians. Our correspondent, Kazim Kasali, has details in this report.
This is a press conference called by the Ministry of Information and Culture to, among other things, inform the public about the progress so far made by the ministry in its bid to meet the deadline set by the International Telecommunications Union on the digitization of broadcast signals worldwide. The minister disclosed that after the success of the pilot project in Jos over the weekend, the next city is the nation's capital, Abuja, which will be followed by Lagos. He added that the ministry will continue its engagement with all stakeholders in the sector to ensure the continuing success of the process and to also remove knotty issues like the litigation arising from the licensing of the signals distributors.
We are able to micromanage what they do. But you see, the digitalization project must go ahead, must go on.
We apologize for the mix-up there. The digitization process of broadcast signals in Nigeria has the potential to add over $250 million annually to the entertainment industry in Nigeria. The federal government will also work with all stakeholders in the media industry to ensure that all knotty issues are resolved. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, also disclosed that Abuja is the next destination of the digitization of the broadcast signals.
This is a press conference called by the Ministry of Information and Culture to, among other things, inform the public about the progress so far made by the ministry in its bid to meet the deadline set by the International Telecommunications Union on the digitization of broadcast signals worldwide. The minister disclosed that after the success of the pilot project in Jos over the weekend, the next city is the nation's capital, Abuja, which will be followed by Lagos. He added that the ministry will continue its engagement with all stakeholders in the sector to ensure the continuing success of the process and to also remove knotty issues like the litigation arising from the licensing of the signals distributors.
We are able to micromanage what they do. But you see, the digitalization project must go ahead, must go on.
On the economic front, the minister disclosed that digitization will sound a death knell for the piracy mafia that has deprived the movie and entertainment industry of revenue by their activities. According to him, over $250 million will be added to the creative industry yearly when the buy video component of the set-top boxes become operational.
The DSO will be a blessing as they can now wrong foot those who have been pirating their works by releasing such works directly to millions of homes using the digital platform.
He also disclosed the resolve of the federal government to go ahead with the process to ensure that Nigeria meets the June 2017 deadline and avoid being left behind. Kazim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
All right, let's bring that story to you again. The federal government is in the process of ramping up infrastructure development with an implementation and program approach to the power, works and housing sector. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, while speaking to a delegation of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, disclosed that the nation has too many plans, and what is important now is to take action and work together with groups like the Nigerian Economic Summit Group to deliver services to all Nigerians. The report now.
The minister, in his address to the team led by its first vice chairman, Shola David Bora, disclosed that the federal government will no longer just plan, adding that the nation has, in his opinion, overplanned. The next step, according to him, is what it describes as a project implementation and program plan.
The plan really is in setting timetables, dates, cost, quantities, and say this will take us here in 15 weeks. And I think that's the real heart of the matter, and that's where we are at in this ministry.
Earlier in her address, leader of delegation and first vice chairman of the group disclosed that all the NESG wants is a partnership with government to ensure the delivery of service to all Nigerians, especially the power, works and housing sector, which she describes as strategic.
Our view essentially is that there's so much to do and such limited resources that it is important that we focus on some key road networks.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, Lao Yajayola, while addressing the issues affecting both the road and housing sector, calls for a new approach, especially in the transmission subsector of the power sector.
As we plan for the next Summit 22, our focal point is to look at Made in Nigeria. Whatever it is we can do with the ministry to ensure that we promote Made in Nigeria, we will still want to work with it before the summer. And I just think they should have this.
The two sides, however, agreed that they will meet more regularly to ensure the creation of an effective synergy between the government and private sector for the development of the nation's infrastructure. Kozim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Away from there now, the Code of Conduct Bureau says it has completed the verification of assets declared by President Muhammadu Buhari, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Senate President Bukola Saraki, and other top officials of the current administration. In a statement on Wednesday, CCB's head press and protocol unit Mohammed Idris refuted the report that it is yet to conclude the verification of assets declared by Buhari, Osinbajo, Saraki, and others. CCB said more than ever before, the rate of compliance with its asset declaration requirement has increased since the inception of this administration. Idris appealed to those who are yet to declare their assets to endeavor to do so. And our senators of the northern Nigeria have warned against provocative statements that could inflame tempers in the country in the light of the killings by herdsmen in Nimbo Uzowani in Enugu State. The senators under the aegis of Northern Senators Forum have been expressing their support for the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. Addressing Senate correspondent after the day's plenary, the senators say the support is born out of the recognition of the president's efforts aimed at bringing about positive development to all sections of the country. Our correspondent Jamila Figwa reports.
Rising from an all-important meeting earlier in the week, the Northern Senators resolved that nothing could be better than as senators devoid of party inclination asked Nigerians to give maximum support to the present administration.
The forum, as the Northern Senators Forum, resolved to continue its complete support for President Muhammadu Buhari in order to bring about even development to all sections of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
They are also promising to work assiduously to enact new laws and do away with laws that are no longer relevant and bring in the ones that we look after, especially the northern states.
That members of the forum shall work assiduously to enact laws and amend existing ones when and where necessary in order to promote the interests of northern Nigeria in particular and Nigeria in general.
Drawing from an inference made at the Northern Governors Forum conference recently in Kaduna, chairman of the forum says leaders should be careful when making statements on issues such as the Fulani herdsmen, stating that all herdsmen are however not Fulanis.
We have tried to kill the idea, the mindset that every herdsman is a Fulani man.
Is that true?
It is wrong. As I talk to you, I have a farm. I rear cows. I am not Fulani by birth.
The federal government is taking serious steps to address the issue of these clashes, which the forum says is highly commendable. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And now Nigeria's quest to diversify her economy no doubt keeps getting boosts from every quarter. An additional voice is being added at the Senate in form of a bill to provide for the establishment of an agriculture credit scheme sponsored by Abia North Senatorial Representatives Mao Uhuabunwa. The bill intends to advise on ways of not just producing more food, but also create jobs for many who may want to go into agriculture through loans and funds. Here again is Jamil Afegbo's report.
Peasant farmers hold fort in the communities with subsistent agricultural activities in the past. With the coming of the oil revolution, most farmers are ditching their farming implements for more lucrative jobs. With a bill like this passed into law, credit facilities can now include farmers who don't have money but are willing to go into farming on a small-scale level.
The benefits of a structured and functional commercial agricultural credit scheme that is backed by an act of parliament is that it will provide predictability in the agricultural sector.
One problem observed about a scheme like this is that the interest rate for loans from banks are usually very high, preventing many from accessing such credits.
Agri scheme is operated by most of the banks, with some banks as leading banks in this scheme. And every year, I think about 250 billion is being used. So I think there is need for him to look at that area.
Agreeing that agriculture remains the surest way to stabilize the nation's economy, it needs to be sustained so as to make many earn a living, but attempts at making it possible have failed consistently in the past.
All previous attempts to encourage commercial agriculture in this country were more or less of a political patronage, both from the civilian and the then government or successive government in this country.
Again, for a bill like this to hold any water, there must be a recovery plan so as to revolve the loans. The expectations are that when the bill goes through the final stage, it would have created an avenue for more people to participate in food production in a well-controlled environment. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The federal government is directing the military to immediately bring under control clashes between herdsmen and local farmers in the country. Chief of Defense Staff General Gabriel Olonishaki gave this directive at a meeting between the military and the Miyetti Allah group in Abuja. He says recent happenings between herdsmen and local farmers cause for serious concern. Our correspondent Kikelo Mokere reports.
The Chief of Defense Staff, who was represented by the Director Admin, reiterated the commitment of the military in conjunction with other security agencies to maintain peace and security in Nigeria, assuring that the military and the security agencies will ensure that no more lives are lost.
I want to assure that the military, in conjunction with other security agencies, is doing everything possible to maintain peace and security in Nigeria, in line with the directives of the Commander-in-Chief.
He is, however, calling on stakeholders and all parties who are interested in peace to sheath their sword and ensure no unnecessary casualty, warning that the military will not tolerate any excuse from any armed group for causing violence on innocent Nigerians.
We will not tolerate any excuse for armed groups to unleash violence on innocent Nigerians for whatever reason or guise. We are a developing country, and the only way we can develop is for there to be peace and security.
Leader of Miyetti Allah Group commend the effort of the military in countering the insurgency in the country. He is also appealing to the military to tackle the issue professionally.
Our appeal on this cause is that you tackled this issue with professionalism so that no innocent person, no herdsman who has not gone to anywhere can be apprehended.
The military assures Nigerians that they will conduct the operation in line with international best practices. Ikelomo Ukeri, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And now the visit of Cameroonian President Paul Biya to Nigeria is to improve ongoing bilateral and regional cooperation against terrorism, violent extremism, and cross-border crime. On our flagship program called Digest, a veteran Hassan Stan Lambo speaks on the existing relations between both countries and cross-border tactics in the fight against insurgency.
Relations between Nigeria and Cameroon dates back to pre-independence when both nations dwelled happily. Issues, however, broke out with the struggle for Bakassi Peninsula, an oil-rich 1,600-kilometer land boundary, which extends from the Lake Chad to the Bakassi Peninsula and boundaries into the Gulf of Guinea. Hassan Stan Labo says Nigeria and Cameroon should not consider the strains which have torn them apart, but create opportunities for deeper goodwill.
Well, if you want to count the cost, I would say one smooth relationship between both countries. Secondly, it's availing us opportunities to probably improve on some regional or bilateral relationships.
He calls on citizens to participate actively by providing information to the military in order to execute orders.
All we should be doing is assist with information as much as we can. That will help these guys be able to execute, interpret and execute Mr. President's directive to them.
Callers in the program share their views.
I think it's high time for all of us to support the president. Even those who are against him, who are my friends, I testify that yes, really they have seen the change. They have seen things coming out.
The reason why we are suffering all these security lapses in our country is this. We don't have what we call a central data system.
It is the expectation of Nigerians that Nigeria, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, would make judicious use of its relationship with Cameroon and other African nations to achieve a secure society.
You've been watching the CoreTV Primetime News. Still to come ahead of the news. Witnesses tell Tribunal how Bayelsa gubernatorial election was allegedly murdered. We'll bring you details after this break. Stay with us.
With over 7 billion of world population and still counting, the world needs to hear you now than ever. Whatever your ministry or vision is, Gospel Africa will help get you there faster than you think possible. For inquiries and participation, contact 009 503 3859 or 0812-076-0011 or visit www.gospelafricang.com. Gospel Africa, your #1 media solutions for the church today. Gospel Africa, showing on this station at this time.
If you've just joined us, you're watching CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from our Lagos studios. A recap of, a reminder of our top stories now. We do want to remind you that all our top stories can be found on our social media platforms. Log on to facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also follow at CoreTV News NG. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/CoreTV. Leave a space, then news. And now the Catholic bishops, under the umbrella of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, are appealing to Nigerians to exercise more patience with President Muhammadu Buhari and the quest towards changing the country for the better. Archbishop Ignatius Keigama made the appeal while briefing State House correspondent after a closed-door meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari. A State House correspondent, Abiola Luwadi, has more.
Coming out of the meeting held at the conference hall of the wife of the president's wing of the State House, Archbishop Ignatius Kaigama, says the president is passionate about changing the footing of the country for the better. He is therefore urging Nigerians to exercise more patience with the government at tackling the challenges facing the nation.
With the willing disposition of our president, with his attitude of embracing everyone, we thought we should spell out some areas of closer collaboration. So we found him a sincere man with great sense of dedication.
The cleric also expressed the support of the Catholic Church to the anti-corruption drive of President Buhari.
We have compiled this to assure Mr. President that we are 100% with him in the fight against corruption. And with corruption we can progress. With corruption everything goes wrong. Immorality takes over. Retrogression instead of progression takes place.
About 16 Roman Catholic bishops attended the meeting. From the presidential villa in Abuja, Abiola Oluwole reporting for CoreTV News.
And now the Benue State chapter of the Christian Association of Nigeria has petitioned the National Human Rights Commission over killings and destruction of property by Fulani herdsmen in the state. While submitting the petition, the CAN chairman in Benue State, Reverend Augustine Lever, demanded adequate compensation from federal and state governments to assuage the pains of the victims of the attacks. He said the victims have been traumatized and dehumanized following the series of attacks unleashed on them from time to time. He expressed surprise over the failure of government to curb the incessant, unwarranted killings and wanton destruction of property allegedly perpetrated by Fulani herdsmen against the people of the state. In response, Angwe expressed sadness over the killings by the herdsmen, promising that the commission would carry out an impartial investigation into the case and ensure that justice was done. And now the leader of the People's Democratic Party Southwest held a consultative meeting on Wednesday in Akure, the Ondo State capital, to discuss, among other things, the urgent need to re-energize the structure of the PDP in all the Southwest states and Nigeria at large. In a communique released by the party, the meeting takes a look at how the members can forge a common front and pursue a common agenda towards occupying a leadership position in Nigeria. The party agrees to unite and rise beyond personal interests to confront a crucial national issues that affects them as a race, especially the thriving menace of the Fulani herdsmen. The party also addressed the poor state of the nation's economy and feel terribly sad that the current ruling party has not demonstrated the capacity to contain the economic challenges with attendant dwindling fortunes that has reversed almost all the economic gains recorded under the PDP. And our two witnesses called by the petitioner, Timi Seva, in the Bayelsa State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja, are telling the tribunal how the election was marred with violence and electoral irregularities. A three-man panel led by Justice Kozim Aloga had adjourned sitting on Tuesday to enable the governorship candidate of All Progressive Congress call his witnesses. Our correspondent Basil Okafor reports that the tribunal adjourned again following complaint by respondent councils.
The petitioner in the Bayelsa governorship election has opened his case to prove his allegation that the conduct of the election was characterized by electoral malpractice. Silva is challenging the declaration of Governor Suriaki Dixon of the People's Democratic Party by the Independent National Electoral Commission as the winner of the governorship poll in the state. While giving their testimonies, the witnesses say the election in Southern Ejo was peaceful, but that the arrival of Governor Dixon turned the entire exercise into a violent scene. When the second witness was called to give his own account, a counsel to the People's Democratic Party, Wole Olenikbeku, drew the attention of the court to his copy of the petition, which he says was mixed up. Based on this complaint, the chairman of the tribunal, Kazim Aloba, adjourned the hearing to Thursday to enable Olanikbeku get the right copy. Basil Okafor, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Workers in Plateau State have been charged on computer compliance in connection to their daily jobs. The charge was given at a computer training program by the State Commissioner for Lands and Town Planning, Festus Fuanti, where he warned that those who fail to be computer literate and computer compliance could lose their place in his ministry. The report. According to the Commissioner for Land, Survey and Town Planning, land administration in Plateau State has been digitalized, thus making it impossible for computer illiterate individuals to be able to function effectively in the ministry.
This is one project that is very dear to the existence of this government. And as I said in the previous training, it's a training that I would not expect us to take with levity.
He calls on the staff to take the training seriously in view of the importance of the ministry in revenue generation. He adds that over R1 billion has been invested into the project of getting the staff literate in computer matters, which will make it unforgivable for anyone found wanting after the training.
The benefit of this investment means that we must be committed to the full use of this opportunity. And our ability to use this opportunity fully must be complemented by our capacity to use the equipment that are at our disposal.
Participants at the program say they have learned a lot and promise to put their knowledge to good use to the benefit of the state and the nation in general.
To me personally, I find it very interesting and a privilege to have participated in the training. Having gotten to know the importance attached to the project itself.
It remains a sad reality for top civil servants in the country who are still computer illiterate because they are a clog in the wheel of progress and the nation's quest for economic growth and development. And now some professionals in Plateau State have urged the state employers of labor as well as the workers to be safety conscious in their various places of work. Those that spoke with our correspondent in Jos, the state capital, say it is not enough to ask for wage increase at all times, but that the workers' safety must be a priority, as only good health can guarantee happiness.
According to the Plateau State Head of Civil Service, the primal duty of every organization in the state and beyond should be the safety of its workers, adding that workers' welfare begins with workers' safety at work. He, however, stresses that safety issues are not the sole responsibility of the employer, but that of the employees as well.
Any organization, whether government or private, should be able to provide a very conducive working environment for its workers.
Some workers opine that when their welfare is guaranteed through adequate safety measures, productivity is bound to occur in the workplace. They agree that safety and health is important for the survival of any organization.
The welfare of the workers, it is when they create welfare, good welfare for the workers, that the productivity will be enhanced and the outcome of the delivery of service will be enhanced.
Workers and people should know the importance of this day in taking care of their safety and health.
It is estimated every year that some 2 million men and women lose their lives to diseases and accidents linked to their work, which eventually leads to loss of human capital.
And our United Nations Information Center has harped on ensuring the safety of journalists as one of the ways to promote press freedom, especially at times of insurgency and conflict. Rising from a workshop organized in commemoration of this year's World Press Freedom Day, speakers also charged the press to rise up to the challenge of social media-based news gathering and dissemination, which is slightly different from the mainstream mass media. Our correspondent, Victoria Solomon, has more. We'll bring you that report in our subsequent bulletins. Press freedom is an essential tool for national development that will aid the ability of the citizen to hold their leaders to account and ensure the creation of a legacy of transparency. As the world celebrates World Press Freedom Day, the federal government will work to ensure that the existing level of press freedom in Nigeria is not threatened in whatever form. Our correspondent, Kozim Kasali, has details.
The World Press Freedom Day celebration, put together by the United Nations Organization in conjunction with the European Union and other development partners with the theme Press and Information Freedom, This is Your Right, according to the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, could not have come at a more appropriate time due to the current changes and development both in Nigeria and the world at large. He reiterated the determination of the federal government to protect and guard the existing press freedom in the country as a fundamental tool for national development.
Freedom of expression is therefore essential in facilitating democracy and encouraging active public participation in decision-making. Citizens cannot exercise their franchise to vote or take part in public decision-making.
In his remarks to share his country's experience, Swedish ambassador to Nigeria, Svante Kilander, called on all journalists in Nigeria and around the world to guard the issue of press freedom jealously.
It was the significance of this period was that the power of the king, the absolute power of the king, the dictatorship of a military ruler ended in 1718.
Head of the European Union delegation to Nigeria, Michel Arion, urges all peoples and governments to work to protect the right of people to information and press freedom devoid of intimidation.
Freedom of assembly, freedom of opinion, religion and belief, the FORB in our jargon, including, by the way, the freedom of not having a religion. That is something that can be sometimes very strange in Nigeria.
They also called on media professionals to exhibit the highest sense of professionalism in their day-to-day activities. Kazim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Still to come ahead of primetime news, United States, Russia reached deal on extending ceasefire in Syria to Aleppo province. Details after this break.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
And outside Nigeria now, an agreement has been reached with Russia to extend a ceasefire in Syria to Aleppo province and the besieged city of Aleppo. The U.S. State Department discloses that the expansion went into effect just after midnight in Damascus, noting that there has been an overall decrease in violence. The spokesman, Mark Turner, said the U.S. is coordinating with Russia to finalize monitoring efforts for the ceasefire and calls on all parties to abide by the agreement. A UN Humanitarian Affairs Chief Stephen O'Brien, however, told the UN Security Council that the killing of civilians in Aleppo cannot and will not be forgotten, warning that perpetrators will be held accountable. And now the European Commission has recommended European Union to allow Turkish citizens to travel freely through the Schengen countries without visas. The US and EU executive organ says that Turkey has met most of the 72 criteria needed for a visa waiver, and it has invited legislative institutions of the bloc to endorse the move by June 30. The Commission's Vice President Franz Timmermans says there is still work to be done, but if Turkey sustains the progress made, they can meet the remaining benchmarks. Turkey must fulfill the final 5 criteria before Turkish citizens can travel visa-free to Schengen area. The move is part of a package of incentives offered to Turkey to persuade Ankara to stop migrants heading to Europe and take thousands back from Greece. And now Yemen's warring parties have resumed face-to-face peace talks 3 days after walkouts by the government delegation, according to the United Nations. This is the second round of face-to-face talks in the hard-won negotiation to end a conflict that has killed more than 6,400 people and forced 2.8 million from their homes since March last year. UN Special Envoy for Yemen, Ismail Sheikh Ahmed, said on Twitter that the Joint Work Section has started to follow up with the agreed agenda. The negotiation, which began on April 21, broke up on Sunday after the government delegation quit in protest at the apparent surrender of one of the new loyalist bases in the northern mountains to Iran-backed Houthi rebels. Let's take a look at some sports story now. Real Madrid of Spain has qualified for the UEFA Champions League final after defeating Manchester City of England 1-0 at the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium. The goal was a deflected strike from Gareth Bale, officially credited as a Fernando own goal by UEFA, but was enough to put an end to Manuel Pellegrini's hope of taking the citizens of their first European final since 1970 in his last term in charge. With the result, Real Madrid will now join neighbours Atletico Madrid in the finals of the 2016 Champions League finals in Milan. Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid had met in the finals of the 2014 Champions League, and Real Madrid had defeated Atletico Madrid in the encounter to win record UEFA Champions League. And now businessman Ifeanyi Ubah has emerged as chairman of Anambra Football Association after an alleged secret election held in Awka on Tuesday. Ubah was elected unopposed following the absence of the other chairmanship contestant Ulisa Aniuno. The election, initially billed for Wednesday, was held at an hotel in Awka with only one candidate, Ubah, reportedly present, with some people said to have impersonated the real 24 delegate. The election, which was conducted by the NFF Election Committee supervised by its chairman Ephraim Chukwuemeka, also saw the emergence of the 7 other board members. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Football Federation has confirmed Ubah as the duly elected Anambra FA chairman. And that's it with sport tonight. Just before we go tonight, a recap of our major headliner. Thank you for watching tonight. On behalf of the entire news production crew, I am Frank Omalape. Do have a wonderful night, West.